name is Yoshimi, and I would like to express my gratitude for having this opportunity to speak here. Sharon Zukin spoke about the low city, and David Mallott spoke about the high city. If possible, I would like to talk about the deep city. What a deep city means. It doesn't mean digging a hole when I say deep. I'm talking about the cultural resources that are hidden in the city. The accumulation of history. We would like to dig it up to see what kind of mechanism is possible. Now, the first slide was handmade by myself. It's not such wonderful slides like my two previous speakers, but I'd like to begin with this. Do you know the photograph? Who this is? Many Japanese people will recognize the person. It is Mori Ogai, one of the leading novelists of the Meiji era. And there is a book called Gun, or Crane, that was written by him. And he wrote about his youth in his book. And the hero is Mori himself. He takes a walk every day. And the route was made in the 16th year of the Meiji era. And there is a red portion, dotted line. The red dotted line is where he walked every day. And he studied medicine in Tokyo. And he walked around the school, Shinobazu Pond, went through Yushima up until Akihabara and then Surugadai, and then came to the red gates of the University of Tokyo. And every day he took this walk. This kind of route was a route that could be walked every day during those periods. How could this be done in Tokyo once again? We are looking at this, and we're looking at the cultural city resources of Tokyo. And we want to establish a new area in this concept. On the right-hand side, you see a dotted line. There's a dotted circle. If you look at this circle, and this shows a radius of 2 kilometers, and included in it is from the south, Akihabara, then Jinbocho and Kanda, Yushima, and then Hongo, Ueno, Yanakanezu, and Sendagi. This whole area is within a radius of 2 kilometers to 1.5 kilometers. And so you can walk through this in a matter of 2-3 hours. And Yanakanezu, Sendagi's culture, and also Ueno's museums and art centers, and also the academic area of centering around the University of Tokyo, and also Yushima's shrines and the bookstores in Jinbocho, and Akihabara's cool Japan, anime, manga culture. All of this is located in the same district. Normally, we forget about the fact that these areas are in very close proximity to each other and that they are very connected. We do not think about that, but in fact, if you create a route like this, it's possible to cover that distance in a matter of 2-3 hours. By accumulating all of this, what becomes apparent is, in regard to the route that was walked by Mori Ogai, in central Tokyo North, there is a large cultural sphere. That is, when considering the future of Tokyo, perhaps we can think about this as the core area of the future of Tokyo as a city. We have been wondering about this. We tend to focus too much on the economy and money matters. And we look at how much profit can be generated when we did the development of cities. But we should consider a city in a different light, especially in the central Tokyo North. There's Tokyo University of Art, University of Tokyo, and so on. So we should like to take advantage of these kind of cultural assets and the possibility that is hidden here. I would like to talk about, first of all, why this is the case. In 2020, the Tokyo Olympics will be held. And when seeking this, Tokyo was looking at coordinated efforts with the Tohoku region, and considerable amount of time has passed, but there has been the issue of the national stadium and also the emblem for the Olympics. So compared to the London Olympics, a well-organized preparation of the Olympics, as well as the vision of Tokyo beyond that, is not in place yet. What is the problem? Well, this is that the sense of values of 1964 have not been left behind. For the 1964 Tokyo Olympics, this was during the period of high economic growth. This was a time when Japan was growing. And in 1988 in Seoul, or in 2008 in Beijing, there were similar circumstances where the economy was growing quickly, strongly, and there was overall economic growth. That was the central theme of the Olympics there. But when it comes to the Tokyo Olympics of 2020, or the Japan of 2020, we're no longer seeing a society that is continuing to grow. That is no longer the case. So we are, in a sense, a mature society, and so we have to think about Tokyo and the future of cities. And we should be more solidly focused on thinking about these issues. And so therefore, the values that we seek to realize are, as mentioned, fast, quick, growth. That is not our main goal, but how we can recycle in our society in a long-standing, happy manner. How can we create a city that will allow us to realize this? And so rather than looking at unified values, we should look at diverse values, and we should look at value generation through the use of our cultural resources. And we should create our individuality from these elements. I've talked about the element of culture, but when we talk about the word bunka or culture in Japanese, this is a mistaken translation of the word culture. It is not appropriate as a word. And we have continued to use this bunka mistakenly as culture in Japanese. Now, culture means that it has the same etymology as agriculture. Agriculture means cultivation of the earth, whereas culture is the cultivation of people, and this means that between civilization and culture, they contrast each other. But when we look at culture, in order to take advantage of culture, it doesn't mean that we should follow civilization and create civilized things. Rather, we should look at our societies and our human resources and how to cultivate the people in those societies. In other words, we must create a fertile soil. That becomes the key. And Professor Zukin has talked about authenticity. And the word authenticity was discussed. And Professor Zukin has mentioned in her presentation about this. When it comes to culture in Tokyo, what does this mean? There is the Kita district, where we see a concentration of such elements. Tokyo was originally Edo, and when we consider what Edo was like, this was an area where the aristocrats came from Tsugaru, Choshu, Satsuma, and Kaga. The various fiefdoms were bringing their culture into Tokyo. Because of the samurai network, there was an interaction of those cultures. Edo was a cosmopolitan city at that time. And there was also the network of Dutch medicine scholars. And then there was the Meiji Restoration that took place. When it came to the Meiji era, or the Taisho era, the Kita district, especially around Jinbocho or Kanda, was filled with many students coming from China. Especially in the Jinbocho and Kanda area, there were many students from San Yat-sen, or Rojin, and also Shao Enlai later on came. These were the people who created modern China. That kind of vitality was to be found in the Jinbocho area. Furthermore, if we look at the Ueno district, Ueno, if you walk around Shinobazu Ike, you see crows, you see rubbish, and there is a forlorn feeling to it. But in the past, Ueno used to be an area where there was much introduction of foreign technology. And there were wonderful pavilions that were illuminated at night around Shinobazu Ike Pond. And the first airplane, a glider, flew and took off from Shinobazu Ike Pond. And there was much innovation that took place there.
And as I said, this was the area that was much closer to the Tokugawa shogunage and the Tohoku region, and not the Choshu. And in the Civil War, the shogun side lost, and they fled to Aizu. They lost again, and they went to Hakodate in Hokkaido. They fled northward. So that route existed from the end of the Edo period to early Meiji period. And after World War II, the military bases were created in the Zabu and Yoyogi Harajuku area, which turned into the Olympic districts in relation to the 1964 Tokyo Olympics. So the north side was the center in the past, but that moved to the west side, southwestern side of Tokyo, with the Tokyo Olympics. And that led to the development of Shinjuku, Shinagawa, and Toramon. And with that, the central Tokyo North lost vitality. And my proposal here is to revitalize that area. And I feel a little awkward to make this proposition here in Roppongi. So the southern side of central Tokyo, be it Azabu, Hibiya, Roppongi, Shibuya, Yogi, were where the training grounds of the Imperial Army existed, which were later used by the U.S. military and then into the Olympic City. When we look at the northern side, right after the end of World War II, there was a plan to redevelop Tokyo from the north side. The Ishikawa came with the idea of developing the cultural educational districts in Hongo and Ueno and Koishikawa area, especially the Hongo area and Ueno area in particular. Hideaki Ishikawa and Shigeru Nambara and Kenzo Tange, they worked together to build Oxford in Tokyo starting in 1946. Hongo, Ueno, Koishikawa were to be put together. And this is the picture drawn by Kenzo Tange. And when this comes together, we can have a cultural district that compares well to Oxford and Harvard. And that is being discussed again today. So how are we to realize this? Again, we're talking about this 2-kilometer radius area. We are looking into various possibilities. I'm afraid I can't share all of them with you today, just some highlights. The competition to renovate older buildings in Yushima Kanda areas. There are many old buildings. Before we scrap and rebuild, we want to renovate, and we want to organize various competitions for that as an experiment. And this is the Russian Orthodox, or rather, this is the Confucian Cathedral in Yushima. And there are many tourists in the neighborhood, and this cathedral is within walking distance of the shopping area, and we would like to draw the Chinese tourists to Akihabara come to this area and visit other tourist attractions as well. We want to revive the street cars as well. In 1964, streetcars were all but eliminated, and we have to revisit this decision. Was it a good idea? And we do have some streetcars within some of the wards, and we're proposing to first run the shuttle buses that will drive through the older streetcar routes. Yes, subways are convenient and fast, but you can't see anything when you're underground. So we are proposing the streetcars where people can literally see the landscape, streetscape. And we are also proposing the urban laboratories where we see the integration of art, industry, and communities, as well as to promote the social project schools. In fact, this is a district where there are many universities. I'm a professor at Tokyo University today. Many people have this misunderstanding that University of Tokyo started in Hongo. That is not correct. Jimbocho was the original location of the campus. Hitotsubashi, Tokyo University of Foreign Studies, Gakushun University, all originated in Jimbocho. And many of the private universities originated in this Kanda Jimbocho area. In other words, most of the Japanese universities originated in this area. We already have campuses there, and so by horizontally linking them, we believe that a new system could be created. So we have many projects that are running in parallel. By 2020, we're hoping that we can organize a Tokyo Biennale with 10,000 projects running. The government of Japan said that at the time of Tokyo Olympics, 200,000 would be organized, and maybe half of them could take place within this area. And the thrust should be from soft to hard. If it's hardware or physical structures, there will be many vested interests that would come into play. But we want to first start from software, intangible projects, ultimately leading to the infrastructure. And the last part, maybe Professor Ichikawa would not be happy to hear this, but I personally would like to propose that the Cultural Center of Tokyo be moved from south side to north side. I feel awkward to be making this proposition in Roppongi, but Roppongi, Azabu, Shinagawa, rather than this district, I think the cultural center should be Yoshima, Jimbocho, Kando, Ueno, Hongo, that area, which used to be the cultural center. And that's why I am proposing a deep city by digging into the history of Edo. From Narita, by Skyliner, when you get off at Ueno Station, you can't help but wonder, is this good enough to be the gateway into Tokyo? For example, when you get to Hirokoji area at 6 p.m., they are turning into Kabukicho, lots of sex industry establishments there. It's frightening almost. But what about on the Shinobazu no Ike side? Nothing. Maybe some boats, but when you walk around that pond or lake, it's deserted. But it's supposed to be the gateway into Tokyo, and so we need to really dig into the cultural assets that have been buried there, and if we can excavate them, I think that could become part of the identity of Tokyo. Thank you.